It was about 5 or 6 years ago during the summer between my freshman and sophomore year in high school when I was attacked by a stingray. It's one of the most painful experiences I've ever encountered. I was just swimming around in Bolsa Chica Beach. The waves were relatively calm that day, so it was nice to just wade around in the water. The sand was nice and soft. And then one of the waves kind of lifted me a bit higher than the others, and it landed me right on top of some really sharp object. I just felt this horrible pain right in the middle of my foot. I thought I stepped on a stick or something, but the pain kept getting worse while I was swimming, so I decided after a while to just get out of the water and check it out. I couldn't walk on it because the pain was just getting worse as I waited. So I looked at my foot, and there was just this really tiny cut in the middle of my foot. It was bleeding everywhere, but it was just so small. I thought, what the heck is it? My mom came over and freaked out and saw how much pain I was in, so she called the lifeguard over. And he was telling me, oh, what does it feel like? What does it feel like? And I told him, it feels like a sharp, throbbing pain, like someone is punching my foot with needles on their fist or whatever. And so he told me, oh, you've been stung by a stingray, you need to go to the lifeguard station and get it treated. So I went, and about 4 hours later, I was feeling better. This life experience of mine has encouraged me to give you a bit more knowledge about the common stingray. First, I'm going to give you a general description of what they are, of what the common stingray is. Then I'm going to tell you what their defense mechanism is. And lastly, I'm going to tell you how to treat a stingray sting and how to prevent future ones from happening. So for my first point, what are some characteristics of the common stingray? Go ahead. These are a couple pictures of stingrays. This is one of the larger ones that you will probably never encounter in your life unless you go to Australia or something. That is a smaller one that you can find at beaches like Bolsa Chica if you've ever been there. So these are just the size variations. The lifeguard told me when I was at the station that they tend to hang out in calm water, so that was the reason why they're at Bolsa Chica, because the water is generally calm most of the time for the tides. Let's see. Sharon Sharp, author of Sharks and Rays, explains that, next picture please, that instead of being made out of hard bone like most fish are, they're made out of cartilage, which is why in that picture you can see that it looks a bit more fragile than a bone structure would be in a fish. Oh, wait, not yet. Oh yeah, go ahead, next slide. Their skin is made of scales called denticles, which are small scales that are on the outside of them. Some of them can be smooth, like this one is generally a smoother type, and those are the stingrays that feel slimy. The other ones are a bit rougher, and those are the ones that feel more like sandpaper. The National Geographic website also states that next slide please, that the stingray is outfitted with electrical sensors around their mouths, which are located right around here. This is their mouth. Those are not eyes, by the way. Their eyes are on top of the body, which are up there. I know, it looks a bit creepy, but so they're located around the stingray's mouth, which is used for hunting. The electrical sensors pick up vibrations in the sand around them, and that's how they find their prey, which is generally clams and oysters and mussels. Their tails that they have are a serrated barb that are attached to the spine. Those are only for defense mechanisms. They do not use those in hunting. Which leads me to the second point of my presentation. Go ahead. If you've ever visited the aquarium of the Pacific, the stingray pool, you'll find that they're really calm creatures. They mostly use their stings for sort of defending themselves from predators, like sharks or probably people sometimes when they're out hunting them. They're only aggressive when they're predators. Colin Tudge, author of The Variety of Life, says that in order to defend themselves, they have a sting made from one or two modified dorsal fin spikes that are serrated and barbed and have venom at the base. Next picture. This is what it looks like. It is not pleasant to have this stuck in your foot. That is what happened to me. The venom is generally located around the top of the tail, and so when they sting you, they inject that venom into the whatever area. For me, it was the bottom of the foot. I guess you could say it was like that picture. Sharon Sharp also mentions that the stingray's wound affects the victim's heart and nervous system, and it causes nausea and paralysis. I would say that it would only cause paralysis if it were that gigantic one that I showed you in the very first slide. The smaller ones, it just causes a lot of pain. Not too bad. This leads me to the third point in my presentation. Go ahead and take that away. How do you treat a stingray sting, and how do you prevent one from happening in the future? When I went to the lifeguard station, one of the lifeguards told me that a stingray's venom, it kind of works like the bacteria that a bee injects in you. The only way you can heal it is to break it down with heat. So unfortunately, the only way you can heal a stingray sting is to put whatever body part you were stung by into really, really hot water for as long of the time it takes for the stabbing pain to go away. For me, it took a good 3 or 4 hours just sitting with my foot in a pot of water. It was kind of boring, not very pleasant, and very painful, but after a while the pain went away, so that was good. So in the future, if you want to prevent a sting, the lifeguards also told me that you need to shuffle your feet on the sand because they will pick up those vibrations with their electrical sensors that they have around their mouths, and it will warn them, okay, there's something nearby. From those vibrations, while you're shuffling your feet, they can tell how big you are, and they will swim away. They will not attack you. They're very gentle creatures. The only reason I got stung was because I was lifted up by a wave and landed right on top of the poor thing, so you can say that I was the bad guy and that thing was the victim. In conclusion, I've generally told you a general description of what a stingray is, that they're gentle sea creatures that do not attack people. And they don't even really attack unless they're being attacked themselves. I've told you about how their defense mechanism is to inject venom into their enemies. I've also told you that the best treatment for a stingray sting is to dunk your body part into really hot water until the pain goes away. And I've also told you that to prevent it in the future, you need to shuffle your feet along the floor. So I hope that my speech has not scared you from going to any beaches like Bolsa Chica, and that instead you will know how to have a safe and fun time at the beach. Thank you.
Right, Nicole, all the structural stuff in the speech is fine. I think maybe your introduction, your attention story goes on just a little long, but I like the way that you used it to get us going on the subject and make it interesting. You told us what the point of the speech was. There's a good preview. There's clearly research in the presentation that's explained. I think you integrated the visual materials into the presentation pretty effectively. The conclusion, I think, is only a minor problem. You did the right kind of thing with the conclusion, but it sounds mechanical, like you're going, I told you this, I told you this, I told you this. And reviewing it's just one of those things. You got to get a little bit of practice and that sort of thing. So it's not what you did was bad. It just sounds kind of ham-fisted the way you're doing your summary. And there are better ways to do that, and the more practice that you have, the less likely you'd be just going through the checklist kind of thing that you're doing there at the end. The delivery factors, you've got a lot of gestures, your facial expressions are very animated, your eye contact is a little inconsistent because sometimes you're looking at your notes, sometimes you're looking at the screen, and even when you are looking at us, it feels a little bit downcast. But when you do look at us, which you do on a pretty regular basis, I thought you were doing okay on those sorts of things. The main issue visually that I see that's problematic is your body movement. You can't quite get still. You're moving your hips, you're moving your feet, you look like you are just. I got the energy, and I got to get it out someplace, and so you want to use it effectively. But I tell you, I think you need to have a little bit more control over it. There's nothing wrong with stepping forward, stepping to the side, and turning occasionally. But when you watch, I think you'll notice that it doesn't look like it's controlled stuff. It just looks like it's.
I need to move.
Yeah, you need to make it a little bit more planned, and like I said, feel like you're in control of it and you're using it instead of it's using you to get out. You know,
Okay.
and I think you'll see when you watch the video what I'm talking about. The paralinguistic cues, I think you could project a little bit more, but I could hear you. There's nothing there that was bad, just things that could be a little bit better. The pacing, same sort of thing. I think that's mostly because you're looking at notes and you're having to rely on reading occasionally, so you get a little bit of an awkward hesitation here or there to pick up the next thing that you're talking about. Most of the time you're fine, and the less that you'd had to use the notes, I think the more fluent it would be also.
Right.
All right, thank you.